He is Florida Atlantic University ends and edge coach Brandon Lacy. I'm John Brice of FootballScoop.com. This is the latest and the first edition of the Our Coaching Network podcast in 2026. Kicking it off with a big time personality and Brandon Lacy. Coach, thanks for joining the show. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me, John. Really excited about it.
No, it's a fun time to get together, and I know most places haven't started spring ball yet, but the little mini breaks are over after the other signing day last week, and sort of a weekend to regroup for most programs around the country. You and I visited last month in Charlotte at the AFCA. Just for you personally, right now, what are you focusing on? Where are areas that you want to grow as a coach, and maybe what's the message that you're giving your players right now as they're in winter conditioning, preparing for spring ball?
Well, the big thing for me is obviously looking back at the 2025 season on where we can get better. I've tried to do a bunch of studies this off season because I, being the edge coach, I didn't like where our sack total was. We did have 25, which is actually +8 from where they were last year at FAU before I got here. But I'm used to having a 40, 50 sack season, so I'm trying to look at, okay, who are some of the teams and what guys did. So I basically took the top 5 or 10 teams in the country and been watching them and breaking down some of the things that they've been doing. For us this off season, we've already started our off season workouts with our guys. We have what we call OTAs, which is kind of like optional team activities where we kind of do install the basis of the defense. I think we're a lot more talented this year, so I'm trying to find ways to put our more talented players in position to make plays. We brought in a lot of 3 or 4 transfers from my position, which I thought was needed. And that's really where my message is to them is to raise the expectations. We finished 4-8 as a team last year, which again was a plus in the column last year. The year before that, they won 3. The year before that, they won 2. So we won 4, which is good. It's our head coach's first year. But I said, hey, why not us this year? That's a team that goes from 4-8 to 8-4. Raise the expectations. The expectation level is risen by what we brought in here, but what our head coach's initiative is. We have an older team. We got a quarterback coming back that's an all-conference player. We feel like it. It's our time this year to flip the script. So really just kind of trying to give them a little bit more confidence, understand that we have better talent, and then go out there and execute.
You know, you touched on something there about elevating the standard, raising what you're asking them to do and what can be done. How much easier is that maybe right now than a year ago because you do have a year under your belt, that you're entering year two at FAU. You've built some equity with guys, and I'm sure you've got guys that have built equity with you.
Yeah, it's definitely easier the second year. Literally, it's almost been 365 days from my first day on campus. And you can just see that the guys have an understanding of what the expectations are. We're still growing. We're still not where we need to be. But there are certain things now that when it happens, they know it's not tolerated. There's certain things now when it happens that you hear guys going, hey, man, that's not the way we do things here. Whether it's a new guy or an old guy. And I say all the time, again, I give credit to Coach Kitley and our administration for what we've been able to do in terms of the portal, because the way you get your program flipped, you bring in guys that are winners. So, we brought in guys in from places that have won conference championships, that have been to bowl games, that have been an all conference player somewhere else. And we're getting them to buy into our culture, which is the whole family aspect. But then I'm getting our guys to buy into this is what it takes to win. So the level gets raised by the talent you bring in, but also by the expectations of the talent that you bring in, meaning by the talent that you bring in when they win, they expect, okay, I'm coming here to win now. I'm not coming here to play. I'm not coming here just because of whatever I was getting paid in rev share and anything like that. It's I'm coming here to win and make a difference. And that's the level that we've been able to raise, where everybody now has that mindset of, okay, it's my turn. I need to go do something, show my value.
Again, this is the Our Coaching Network podcast visiting with Brandon Lacy of FAU. He's got the owl watching over us. I am John Brice of FootballScoop.com. You referenced Coach Kitley there and the administration and kind of some of the things that they've done to empower you. I hear great things about working for Zach Kitley, about it being a family first program. Now that you've got a year under your belt with him, what do you see in that regard? What do you see that gives this program confidence that it can be one of those teams to make a big leap? You know, San Diego State did it a year ago. They went from 4-8 or 3-9 to 9-3.
hmm So I will tell you this: one, it starts from the top down with Coach Kidley because he is a very family oriented person. John, we talked about this. My kids play baseball. I've seen more baseball games being at Florida Atlantic than I probably have anywhere else, which is not a bad thing because as a parent, you want to be able to do that. But also, it's the freedom to do your work and know that, hey, work is important, but your family is also more important. And whether it's my kids, whether, hey, coach, can I go pick up my son from school? Can I go get my kid to here? As long as you're getting your work done, Coach Kidley is good with everything. For player wise, our kids love him because of the fact that he's a player's coach. I mean, our fall's camp schedule was unbelievable for guys in terms of taking care of them. He takes care of them off the field in terms of their nutrition, in terms of the resources we can give them. And that's credit to our administration as well for giving them all that backing. But more importantly, he's a great person. Okay. Cares about us, knows about everybody on the staff. Heck, his wife has had a ton of things to do with our wives and our significant others on campus, which has made my wife feel comfortable. This is our first time living in South Florida. She doesn't know where anything is, and guess what? Now she's in a book club with them, and they have a good time. Heck, they went to Disney as a wives trip one time. We got our coaches convention. They got to go to Disney, but so he makes it really inviting. But the same thing with us as coaches. I mean, he's a guy. He's just hey, you want to go out and go have a beer? Do you want to go out and go get something to eat? It's not like, hey, you're asking the head coach. It's just like, hey, man, I'm going to go watch the game. You want to go watch the game. So it makes it easy to work for a guy like that. And it's not, he's still demanding. He still has high expectations. And that's the thing. He saw where we were last year. And now he's pushing the envelope on us. We need to be better. Let's find other ways. We have better players. Let's find other ways. Let's don't just go win six. Let's get it all the way flipped.
So, Brandon, you're saying a trip to Disney was better than hanging out with dorks like me and Charlotte at AFCA? I
No,
don't know how I feel
I,
about that.
I just think it's funny that
No.
it happens the weekend after the coaches get back from coaches convention that the wives have to go on their little trip somewhere. It's like, oh, okay, this is a payback.
Yeah, that's pretty smooth. That's smart. That's good thinking by the head ball coach.
No doubt.
So I want to ask you there. You have referenced challenging guys to be better, challenging yourself to be better, the program being challenged to be better. When you're in, and you've coached some big time dudes, you set records when you were the D line coach at Southern Miss. You did some great things really earlier in your career. At some other stops, you were a big part of success at Appalachian State. You've had a number of places where you've had significant success. What are you looking for? What are the traits that are non-negotiable for you when you're identifying guys as the FAU rush and ends coach? What are the traits you're looking for that are non-negotiables?
So the four things we talk about are four pillars in our room. One is this fanatical effort. When you pop on the tape, do they play harder than anybody else that you see? Because why? Because no matter what, scheme is great, putting the guys in the right position is great, but if you play hard, it will cover up a lot of mistakes that are made. So the first thing we talk about is fanatical effort. Next thing we talk about is physicality. Why? Because you can't substitute physicality. You know, I kudos to Indiana. They beat people up all game. They make it dirty, and then sometimes they just grind it out and just beat you up. I mean, they do. And they're a gritty football team that plays physical, that hangs their hats on physicality. I think them and Miami both did a great job in the national championship game of making it a physical game. When you do that, you beat the will out of people. So we're looking for physicality out of the guys. Next thing we want is this: we want guys that can be focused. Now, how do you judge that? You do it in when you're recruiting them. You say, okay, tell me what your favorite play is. Tell me how you see yourself as a player. What's your competition level? What's your competition level for games? Do you like the weight room? Do you love the weight room? One of the favorite questions I love to ask is this, and I got it from a Tiger Woods interview. They asked Tiger Woods, "Do you love to win or hate to lose?" And he said, "I hate to lose, but I love the joy of winning." And so he really didn't answer the question. He said, "Well, I really do because the pain of losing is so much that I hate it. So that's what inspires me to want to win. Winning is easy when everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to win. But if you hate to lose, you will do everything in your power not to have that pain." That is what I'm looking for in those guys. And the last thing is this: do you enjoy the game? Do you have fun? And I encourage my guys to celebrate, not get a 15-yard penalty, don't do anything crazy, but enjoy the pureness of what you do. Do you enjoy your craft? Do you enjoy the days when you're sore and you really don't want to get up? But you know what? It's like, man, I get to do this. Not I have to do this. You have to find those guys. You know, you don't have to have all the measurables. You don't have to be 6'4". You don't have to run a 4.4. You don't have to have long arms. Those are things that are beneficial. That if you have those things, then that puts you on an elite level. We say all the time, Myles Garrett is touched by God because he just God touched him and said, "Hey, look, you are going to be able to do this really well, and nobody else is going to look like you." But the rest of us are mere mortals. So it's mere mortals. What do we got to do? You have to love something to go out there and do. I love coaching. I wouldn't want to do anything else. I have a degree in economics and business marketing. I wouldn't want to go work in Wall Street or go do anything. I love coaching. You want football players to feel the same way. I love to come over here and do that. If you have the passion if you have the love, you play with fanatical effort, you like being physical, and you are focused enough to where you can go get your job done on a day-to-day basis, we will find a way to win a lot of football games. So you look at a lot of my guys sometimes, yes, I have some guys that will be what they call freaks or their measurables and everything like that are off the charts, but then I have a lot of guys that just are really, really gritty football players that play really hard and that have a passion for the game.
You've been doing this now, closing in. I think this upcoming year will be about your 24th season, I
Yep.
believe, from when you started way back at App State in '03 and '04 and spent those seasons there. You can turn on film and get an idea of a guy's motor or get an idea if he likes or loves the game. But also film doesn't show you everything, especially now that the portal is prevalent and some guys maybe are leaving because they don't have much film. What do you use to cut through some of that to make sure that the people you're recruiting and the people that you're inviting into the FAU program or wherever you are fit those characteristics that you just described, fit the core four tenets that you have to have?
You really talk to them. You have a conversation. Because at the end of the day, I'll put a great example. When I was at Southern Miss, we took four guys that transferred that played less than 50 snaps. When I sat down with them, I said, okay, why are you transferring? Okay. And usually kids are transferring because either A, they're not playing, okay, B, they want a better opportunity to play more, or C, they want to get closer to home. Okay. So the first thing I try to find is why are you transferring? Second of all, is that if you're transferring because your situation wasn't great, what are you going to do different? Because just because you transfer, your situation doesn't go away. It follows you. What can you admit that you did wrong that you can do better? Like I said, there's nothing wrong with failing. Failure comes from not recognizing that you made a mistake. I may have failed as a coach somewhere where I didn't do a best job. So I got to learn for myself, okay, what can I do better? So I kind of asked them the same questions in terms of, hey, if you're getting in the portal, why? Hey, coach, it was, my coach wasn't playing me. Was it your coach wasn't playing you or you didn't know your plays? Ah, well, yeah, coach, I didn't know. Okay, well, so let's admit it. That's okay. Now, when you get here, I'm going to require the same thing. So what are you going to do differently? And that's the part where you got to get them tapped in. It's almost like once they acknowledge the fact that they've had part in some of their failures and mistakes, they can move on to new mistakes. And it's developing a relationship with them with one where they trust you. I'm brutally honest with my guys. When I say brutally, meaning by I don't sugarcoat it. We grade every day. I tell them exactly how it is. There is no, they ask all the time, who's my favorites? I have favorites, the ones that do what I ask them to do. Doesn't matter how talented you are. If you do what I ask you to do, I like you. If you make a lot of plays, I like you. I can love you as a person off the field, but if you don't make plays and you don't do what you're supposed to do on the field, I'm probably not going to like you as a football player. So it's the understanding of that. It's the understanding sometimes that, hey, there's a time when it's your time to take a shot, and there's a time when it's your time to be an assist guy and be a player, be a team player. And having that balance. There's some guys, I've coached guys who's been like, hey, I need you to be a guy. And there's some guys that I just need you to do your job to the highest level that you can do it. And once you set those um, parameters up for them, they have an understanding of what you want from them. Expectations are then met. They say all the time, why do relationships not work? Because expectations did not meet the reality of what somebody else wanted. If a kid comes here and, hey, I expect to play 500 snaps and I'm going to be an all conference guy in this, and you tell them that in recruiting, oh man, hey, you're going to be, we're going to get you to the NFL, we're going to do all that stuff. And the moment it doesn't happen, well, my expectation was that was going to happen. I don't. I very rarely promise a kid unless I just see that, yeah, you're an NFL guy. That, like, I'm gonna get you an NFL. What I say is this: I'm gonna give you every blueprint for the 16 guys that I've coached to go to the NFL to do, and if you follow it to the T, you will have an opportunity to be there. So when I ask you, go get some extra reps after workouts, and you go, oh, but I'm tired. Okay, well then you don't want to follow the blueprint because I've seen a guy that literally has less talent than you work himself into a NFL player. You can do that. And that's just the reality we have. That's the real conversation we have.
He is FAU rush and ends coach Brandon Lacy. He's helped 16 guys go to the NFL, and he's joining us here on the Our Coaching Network podcast. I'm John Brice of FootballScoop.com. As you drill down on that, Brandon, as you talk about giving guys the blueprint, and there's more distractions than ever before in college football right now, arguably more than ever before. Do you find at the end of the day, though, that those guys you're talking about, that when you identify guys that love football, they also love being coached? Do you find guys still very receptive to being coached on a day in, day out basis?
You do. You do. You find, and that's the ones that you're looking for, those guys. I'll give you a great example. One of the most recent guys I coached that's in the league right now is a guy by the name of Kobe Turner. Okay. Kobe Turner did not love football when he was actually in college. He actually really loved music. And he actually had a scholarship to the University of Richmond to be a cappella singer. So the spring I get there, I find out that they just put him on scholarship for football. And he almost left the first summer I was there to go do a summer internship from like May until July over in Europe to go sing. I said, hey man, here's the deal. They're paying you to do football now. Now, you can love music, but you have to love music just as much as you love football because of the fact that they're giving you the same amount of money. And he actually said, "Well, how do I do that?" I said, "Well, how do you express yourself in music?" He said, "Well, when you're singing, you do it with your vocal cords, or you pour out your emotion." I said, "Okay. So when you're in football, do you get excited when you do anything?" He said, "No, I just do my job." I said, "Try pouring out a little emotion." So if you've ever watched Kobe Turner, his nickname is the conductor. He was given that by actually myself. Okay.
Oh,
So he would make a play, and I said, what would you do? What's your ultimate goal? He said, I want to conduct a symphony orchestra. I said, okay, well then just do this. You make a play, do this. Well, this turned into this, the whole thing, and now that's his thing. So now he's known as the conductor. Okay. But it allowed him to express himself musically on the football field. So he found his love and passion. That's the big thing is you got to find what guys is what makes them tick. And it can't be I always got to tell them, you got to take the finances out of it. Because right now that's what they are. Like, in today's world, a lot of that drives a lot. Like, okay, coach, I want this, I want that. Okay. Do you love football or do you love what comes with football? If you truly love football, then you're going to get everything you want out of it. If you only love football for what you think you can get out of it, then guess what? You're going to get cut short. At some point in time, you're not going to get what you want, and then that's when you're going to stop giving everything that you got. So you try to find that out of guys, and you try to make it more about driving inside than what the exterior things that you can get.
all right. Then, as we visit here on the Our Coaching Network podcast, Brandon Lacy, what would have been your nickname as a player, or what was your nickname as a player? Because you started out and had a very strong couple of years at UT Martin, some Defensive Conference Player of the Week honors, some team honors. You did some great things there out in tiny Martin, Tennessee, there near Westview High School, now the land of Jason Simpson. Then you
Yeah.
transferred. Then you transferred to Kansas and had a very nice career there that included some academic all conference honors. So, what would have been your nickname, the professor, or what? What are we going
It
with
was
here?
actually the coach.
Okay.
So I learned really fast. So when I was younger, when I was at UT Martin, I had the blessing and the curse of playing as a true freshman, true sophomore, which is two things. One, you're probably not very good because you're playing as a true freshman, true sophomore. And two, I say all the time, I couldn't have coached myself as a freshman, sophomore because I made a whole bunch of bonehead mistakes. The best thing that happened to me is when I transferred to Kansas and I had the red shirt and I had to actually learn the game. Because then it wasn't about, stepping up a level. It wasn't about just being the most talented. It was about how do you play within the game. So my attribute was the fact that I was smart and could play anywhere on our front. So here I am, the guy that transfers in, and the funny story is that a lot of people don't realize is that I went through three defensive coordinators at Kansas. And before the portal, there was no you transfer and you had scholarships. So when I transferred from UT Martin to Kansas, I basically became a walk-on and had to earn a scholarship back. Now, I was when I went there under the pretense that, hey, I'm going to get a scholarship. But what happened is that every time it came up for me to get a scholarship, the defensive staff got fired. So it was like had to reinvent and reintroduce myself multiple times. Well, if I had just played defensive end, I would have never they probably would never notice me because I got pushed down the depth chart so many times. So, oh, there's a three technique rep, I'm gonna go get it. There's a weak side end rep, I'm gonna go get it. To a point where my junior year after I redshirted, the only way I played, there was a guy by the name of David McMillan who's way better player than me, but David played opposite of me. So the coach would be like, hey, if you're in the game, you tell David what to do. If you don't tell David what to do, you're not playing. So I'm like, hey, give me the huddle. Hey, look, you got this. So it would have either been coach or the professor, because that's what, or the playbook. That one was actually given to me one time, because
Okay,
that's
I
what
like
David
that.
called me when the position coach let me give a speech at the end of on senior day for our last position meetings. Like, and my buddy David was like, man, I don't know what to do. The playbook's leaving.
I love that.
So,
That's a good memory. You brought it up. I wanted to talk about it there. You did. You were a transfer portal guy before there was a transfer portal guy, and you're a success story from it. You went from FCS to FBS when hardly anyone was doing that. You set out, and then I think you became a three-time academic All Big 12 selection at Kansas. Did you find once you got that first academic honor that your competitive juices kicked in and you wanted to keep repeating that honor?
well, I think maturity kicked in because your freshman sophomore year, you're trying to figure it out. Then it's like, whoa, okay, like they're really keeping score on these grades. So I kind of figured out you find your niche, you find out how to study, you find out how to become a better student. And at the end of the day, my dad was an accountant. I wanted to be at the time when I was in, I wanted to either be in business or accountant. So I took pride in my grades. A little bit of backstory. I actually was committed to Vanderbilt my senior year before Woody Woodenhofer got fired.
Okay.
So I was actually going to Vanderbilt, and then I ended up at UT Martin.
You're cursed, bro. Like
Yeah,
you were cursed back
but
then. Everybody got
it's
fired around you.
well, it's your journey. You say, okay, so you want to, here's even a funnier story that I'll give you. So when I transferred from UT Martin, the two schools, now I'm from Oklahoma, I'm from Oklahoma
Right.
City or from Edmond, right? Okay. The two schools that wanted me were Oklahoma and Kansas. Now, I never was an Oklahoma fan. Never was. My wife is. She's a Civil War and Center bred. But it was Coach Stoops' second year. They had just gotten they just came off of an Independence Bowl championship. A buddy of mine was actually the starting defensive end, a guy by the name of Corey Heineke that played on the national championship team. Okay. They were recruiting me to come to Oklahoma. And they're like, hey, we want you to come, blah, blah, blah. I actually told them I was coming. Kansas offered me as well. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. I'm thinking I'm going to Oklahoma. I found out from a high school coach, a guy by the name of Tommy Harris was getting signed. And that they were going to, after my redshirt year, they were going to move me from defensive end to defensive tackle. And I was kind of the holding spot until Tommy got there. And then when Tommy gets there, we're going to let Tommy go. And I was like, well, I don't want to play D tackle. So I actually chose Kansas over Oklahoma.
Wow.
But the funny thing is this, my dad actually has this. I'm actually on the preseason Oklahoma and Kansas roster for the national championship year
Oh, wow.
because they didn't know I was coming literally until report day. And I flipped. I guess at some point in time, I guess I called the coach and I told him I wasn't coming, but I don't know if he didn't get the voicemail. So they had me on there. In fact, they called my dad and said, hey, Brandon's supposed to be here for report day. And they're like, he's going to Kansas. No, he said he's going to come here. No, he's already out there in the dorm. So yeah, that's an
That's a great story. See,
interesting story.
that's why we do the podcast for moments like this. All right, we're wrapping it down now. We've visited about almost 25 minutes here with Brandon Lacy of FAU. I know you've already said you wouldn't ever want to do anything other than be a coach, and we talked about it some in Charlotte, but I'm putting you on the spot. If you couldn't coach, what would you be doing? And it might be that in a few years you're a Major League Baseball dad because you got some talent. You got some
That's what
talent coming up too.
that's what I joke and say this to my older son all the time. I said, "You realize I coach college football for a living, but all three of you guys have one of the better swings that everybody says that they like on their team." So my dad played professional baseball. And I played good high school baseball and played my freshman year in college until I wasn't gaining enough weight. The football coach made me quit. But it would probably, if it wasn't coaching football, it probably would be either coaching baseball or being involved with baseball. Baseball is actually my love.
Okay.
I I love coaching this. I love coaching the game. But if I had to do something outside of football, it would be probably with something with baseball. I can go watch a doubleheader. I can go watch my kids play. I can go watch a game on TV. I love the game of baseball. I think it's a thinker's game. Some people say it's too slow. I say every pitch has a different strategic advantage, and you just got to know what they are.
And now that you're in South Florida, your kids are playing with some of the progeny of who's who of
Oh,
baseball.
there's
Not
no
to mention
doubt.
Mo Vaughn and some other absolute ballers now taking your kids around.
It's pretty mind blowing when I go in my son's hitting for his hitting lesson and there's Mo Vaughn in there and then there's Mario Rivera's cousin or somebody like that or somebody that came back from the AAA team that's getting work and it's like he's a major leaguer. He's a major leaguer. It's like golly. So it's pretty awesome.
That's awesome to let your kids see what good is and see what they can aspire to do.
No
Brandon, we
doubt.
appreciate you visiting with us here, and we're going to keep a close eye on FAU in the fall, penciling you in as one of those turnaround teams.
Appreciate it, John. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. For FAU's Brandon Lacy, I'm Football Scoops John Brice. This has been the latest and the first edition of the Our Coaching Network podcast in 2026. Until the next one, enjoy this one.
Go Owls.